So, when you're transferring an image from just like a regular sheet of paper over onto your surface, you can do it in many different ways. But basically, I'm going to create a drawing on one side of the page, and then on the other side, I'll just sort of cover it in my pastel, place it on my canvas, and then I'll sort of transfer it by going over the drawing. Does that make sense? So you may want to start by just sort of picking your space and doing a quick perspective drawing. So I'm going to be drawing this section over here where I have some nice natural light. So I'm really just going to start by putting down the most important angles that I see. So instead of just painting directly on my canvas, for something that's a little bit more technical like this, I might want to have a drawing going. So, let's see. So I'm going to be sort of checking my angles as I go, so you can hold up like a paintbrush, a straight edge of any kind, and sort of use it to measure angles in relation to one another. So generally you should have some vanishing points. So this vanishing point should sort of lead you in generally the same place. And you can use that vanishing point to help you figure out where things need to sit in relation to one another and the angles that you're looking at. So I'm gonna just really roughly map some things in. And then if you decide that you want to totally change your idea, that's totally fine. So it's not going to be perfect yet, but my space is kind of framed by these large areas of sort of painting storage. It's going to go up way higher on this side. And I'm then going to sort of just go back and keep checking my drawing. So I might also have some more details in here, but generally my drawing is going to be pretty simple. So I'm not going to get any details in my drawing yet. I'm just going to really focus on major sort of contour lines and the angles of the perspective. So once I've gotten my drawing down, I can then take it and flip it over. And now I can take a chalk pastel. You can also do this with like a graphite stick. And then you want to just rub your pastel all over your surface of the back of your drawing. And the more even, the better. And you might want to choose a color that you're okay with sort of being a part of your underpainting. So my underpainting is going to be red. Even though there's no red in this space, you can really sort of use arbitrary color today for your underpainting. It can be pretty fun. So next I will grab my panel or whatever surface you're working on and figure out where you want to place it and put the pastel side down. And now I can go on top with another tool and just sort of reinforce that drawing and bear down over the lines. And it should be transferring your drawing very subtly onto your board. So it's not going to be super intense of a drawing, but it should be helpful. And this is a way of sort of transferring something without having sort of like lots and lots of drawing on your actual board and a lot of erasing and reworking. This is a way where you can really get your drawing where you want it and then sort of have a subtle transfer so you don't have to deal with some of the more annoying aspects of the drawing when you're using your actual surface. So then I'll take this off, and now I have this subtle drawing. So then I can go on top with my pastel. I don't know where my red one is, that's okay. I'll switch to green. And then I'll just sort of reinforce my drawing. So I already have my basic angles there from my transfer. And now I can just go on top and really sort of just lay it in. And this is gonna really be helpful later on when I'm trying to sort of match color and I need to sort of make sure my brush strokes are going in the right direction. So when I said like an arbitrary color for your underpainting, it can really be anything. Because I've switched to a green pastel, I might go with like a sort of like a deep green-blue color. But once you finish your underpainting, so just like how you've done in the last couple of weeks, I'm gonna sort of mix up some neutrals, and as I see them, just like when you did your color maps for your sketchbook assignment, as I see a color, I'm just gonna mix it up and put it where I see it. Because a lot of the spaces we're in, there's normally a lot of white walls, a lot of beige, a lot of like boring neutrals. It's gonna be a big challenge to actually match those tones and to create the chromatic shadows that we see. So I'll do another sort of demo in a bit, but go ahead and if you would like to try this transfer method where you're working on a drawing, putting pastel on the back and then transferring it over, you can do that, or you can just draw directly on your surface. So it's totally up to you. But that's about it for now. So your underpainting can be whatever color you want. It does not need to be visible in the space, but I recommend just choosing a color that you really like. And it'll be interesting to see how that sort of vivid color will influence and also have like an interesting complement to the neutrals that you're painting. Because I think unless you're really lucky and you have like a really vibrant space, there's a good chance we're looking at a lot of neutral tones in the interior spaces that we're painting. Any questions? Cool.
I don't have pastels. Would Conti work?
Yes, that would be perfect. Yeah, so really any sort of like soft material. You could even use like a graphite stick or like a soft lead pencil would work too. But the color from that isn't going to be as great. So if you have like a warm tone Conte pen or Conte crayon, that would be perfect. Awesome, we'll go for it. So when painting architectural space, you're going to be dealing with a lot of angles. So while you're creating your underpainting, there's going to be a lot of moving things around, fixing your drawing, and tweaking your angles until they work. So here I've also begun to work from what's furthest back and what's darkest first, and then slowly moving my way towards the viewer. Remember that this is just one way to do it. I decided to paint what's outside the window first, and then slowly work my way up. Notice how I'm slowly going through with a larger brush and blocking in the major areas of shadow. In these painting slots on the left, I've painted in major areas of darkness with the intention of going on top to capture the highlighted shelves later on. So this is an example of how painting from dark to light can be a useful way to work with acrylics. When you're trying to capture hard edges and detail when you're painting an interior space like this, having some painter's tape around can be really helpful for capturing those angles and getting some really fine lines and edges. That being said, you can absolutely just use a flat brush to capture the most important shapes first, and then go through with a very small flat brush to capture some of the edges around these objects. This is how I painted these tabourets in the far back corner, or the center of my composition. I'm also thinking a lot about reflected light and reflected color. Because I have some sort of warm areas beaming in from the sky, from the window, I'm going to go ahead and paint those in. I can then later glaze them with a shadow in case I need to darken them. I can also use glazing to add some of that reflective color. Remember that painting the light in the space is most important. Painting interior space from observation is an incredibly difficult subject to paint. So don't be too hard on yourself if you don't have some angles correct, or if you're having some issues with perspective. I definitely have some issues with perspective in my painting. What's most important is to train your eye to notice how
value so light and dark are functioning within different kinds of spaces? How can you simplify and interpret the space around you in order to translate it through paint and express something new? This painting still has a ways to go, but I recommend every now and then just painting the space that you're in from different viewpoints and perspectives. I hope you all have a great day.